Did you know that according to the U.S. Census Bureau, nearly 30 million Americans lived in poverty in 2024? That's almost 10% of the population caught in the relentless clutch of generational poverty, a cycle so powerful it shapes family dynamics, limits access to resources, and traps millions in a poverty mindset that feels impossible to break. But here's a counterintuitive truth that might surprise you. Sometimes, what feels like being stuck in poverty is actually a hidden form of safety. Yes, many people unconsciously cling to the struggles and limitations of poverty because, as painful as it is, it's familiar and predictable. The unknown risks of change, thriving beyond poverty, can feel much scarier than staying within a painful but known cycle. This paradox keeps many trapped, not because they lack resilience or effort, but because deep emotional safety nets hold them back in the shadows of generational poverty. Meet Brandon, whose story might surprise you. Growing up in one of America's toughest neighborhoods, Brandon watched his family cycle through poverty for generations. But unlike many, he found unexpected freedom. Not through money alone, but through his passion for music and the community's support. His journey reveals something crucial. Poverty trauma runs much deeper than dollars. It shapes mental health, self-worth, and opportunities in ways most don't see. By confronting his poverty mindset head-on and embracing healing, Brandon turned his life around, breaking chains his family thought were unbreakable. Or consider Jada, who grew up without a stable home or reliable meals. Poverty and food insecurity shadowed every part of her childhood, inflicting emotional wounds that stayed with her for years. Yet she found hope through financial literacy and confronting the poverty culture that had long dictated her limits. But here's the real question. Why is breaking the cycle of generational poverty so incredibly difficult? What holds so many talented, hardworking people back from rising above? Firstly, the poverty cycle is a harsh reality where poverty impacts children's education, nutrition, and social experiences, keeping families locked in insecurity across generations. When children grow up without access to quality education or sufficient nutrition, their chances of escaping poverty diminish drastically. The poverty and education gap feels like a locked door, making social mobility almost impossible for many. Secondly, the poverty mindset is far more than financial hardship. It's an emotional and psychological weight. Scarcity thinking traps people in beliefs that opportunities are few and risks are dreadful. This mindset breeds limiting beliefs like, "I'm not meant to succeed," or "anything I do won't change my situation," which hold people emotionally and financially stuck in poverty culture. Thirdly, poverty trauma manifests in real and lasting ways. It impacts mental health, spikes chronic stress, and even alters brain development among children. These emotional wounds create fears and doubts that perpetuate the cycle of poverty across generations. Fourthly, systemic issues like economic inequality and lack of access to affordable housing, healthcare, and quality education form barriers that are almost insurmountable. These institutional blockades aren't just unfortunate. They actively reinforce poverty and make escaping it feel like trying to climb a steep, slippery mountain without gear. Lastly, the lack of effective and accessible poverty intervention programs often leaves families without the support they need. While some programs exist, many fall short in reaching those most in need or addressing the emotional trauma alongside financial hardship. So, how do we break this cycle? 1. Financial literacy education is essential. Learning how to manage money, budget, save, and invest provides tools to build financial confidence and stability. For example, programs that teach children and teens about money early can shift the poverty mindset well before adulthood. 2. Mental health support and trauma healing need to be integrated into poverty reduction efforts. Recognizing and addressing poverty trauma helps people heal emotional wounds that block progress. Counseling, community support groups, and trauma-informed care can rebuild self-worth and resilience. 3. Community empowerment and opportunity creation are game changers. Creating accessible job training, mentorship programs, and safe spaces fosters social mobility and builds networks that break poverty's isolation. Brandon's story shows the power of community support combined with personal passion in escaping generational cycles. Remember, this transformation isn't a quick fix. It requires commitment to healing, changing financial habits, and confronting difficult emotions around scarcity and self-worth. But breaking free from generational poverty shifts not only the financial future, but the emotional legacy left for the next generation. When you shed the safety nets of poverty, you open up a life of real possibility, freedom, and confidence, where thriving isn't just a dream but your new reality. Just like Brandon and Jada, you too can break the chains of generational poverty and build a legacy of hope, resilience, and abundance. If Brandon's or Jada's story resonates with you, or if you felt trapped by this cycle yourself, subscribe and share your thoughts below. Together, through education, empathy, and empowerment, we can break these chains and build a future where thriving is the new normal.